Do we have any Donald Trump fans in the room here this evening? Any Joe Biden fans in the room? Yeah, I thought so. How did that debate go? Roll the tape.
No incumbent has ever done as poorly as Joe Biden did.
I've been talking to a lot of leaders in the Democratic Party, electeds, coalition leaders. There's a full-on panic about this performance.
From a Democratic point of view, this was an unmitigated disaster.
So it went really well for Joe, did it? You mean all those videos of the dude who can't walk or speak or walk or speak couldn't walk or speak, but this time on a national level. Now, there was a special little detail for those that were watching along with the debate, and if you didn't get the chance, I hope you go and check out the video of myself and the beautiful Persian princess, Rita Panahi, watching in real time the political death of Joe Biden. Here's us being very sensitive.
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Oh. President Trump, we're going to turn.
Let's not act like children.
Someone murder a corpse, but that's happening right now on my TV.
We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing nation.
He chose to be on the right-hand side of the TV. Didn't that help today?
Yeah. He could look bewildered this way as opposed to looking bewildered that way.
Oh, no!
For the us to
Oh,
be
He's
no,
done.
no,
That's it.
let's just stop this.
Well, guess what?
Finish. Here's your full analysis.
CNN, yeah, you two were bloody horrid, and
Bye,
I'm not
Joe.
surprised.
Bye-bye, Joe. Now, just in case I haven't made the point clear enough for the people at Media Watch who will be watching us tonight for our reaction to what happened, here's Joe Biden melting down in front of the entire world, unedited.
The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states, let each state have a different rule. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in, they talk about that.
Is it over? I think it might be over for little old Joe. Bye-bye, Brandon. Bye-bye, Brandon. Well, as you know, the media freakout that happened as a result of this has brought forward what we all knew, which was that the guy is not up to it in terms of running for the presidency, but probably more frightening for the world is that he's not up to it to run the free world between now and January, right? That's the concern. That's our worry, right? Yeah, this is the whole, it's not just the debate, it's the being president bit. Well, I've got some kind of breaking news for you tonight, which is Camp David. Now, this is the place where presidents go to have a retreat, or in Joe's case, prepare for that debate for a week. It's also the place where Middle East peace talks happen. It's like kind of like the most private spot for a president to go. He has gone back to Camp David Sunday morning American time. He will be meeting with his family today. The conversation will happen today about whether or not he continues. Now, we know that Jill, who's sort of the full puppet and doing the whole thing, doesn't want to give up. We know Hunter will probably be high, but eventually they will start to have the real conversation. And all the pressure is coming from the Obama people, from the Clinton people, from what is kind of left in Biden world. Now, who knows, by the end of this, they could say we're going to punch on, but the likelihood of them punching on seems pretty low right now. In fact, NBC is reporting that, yeah, they are there right now, that they are having that discussion. So obviously, if you just follow the pattern of news, generally speaking, you don't go behind the closed doors to say everything is awesome. You try to do that. They did that the other day. It didn't work. So one thing that is also extraordinary to watch is that all of the media that has been flat out lying to you that Biden is fine, he's as sharp as a tack, he's the smartest he's ever been, he's playing 4D chess while skateboarding, you know, like, come on. They, of course, are now saying, see you later. This, of course, is the headline of the New York Times, the preferred paper of the super lefty, and they have said it's time to go. All the TV, all the rest of it. But something you need to understand here about how massive this is, apart from just the obvious sense of a president saying he doesn't want to go round again. The last time that happened was LBJ in 1968. And LBJ, of course, decided not to run again because of the circumstances in and around the Vietnam War. Now, we've seen Carter, Trump, we've seen presidents being defeated, but we haven't seen presidents, for want of a better term, giving up. The idea that that would happen is incredibly impactful, not just for history, but it also gives us an idea about Joe Biden's decision-making process. Because Joe Biden, since the very start of his presidency, has been having meetings, I mean literally White House meetings every 2 weeks with White House historians, with presidential historians. He is acutely aware of his place in history. Now, his place for the Democratic Party is he's the guy who slayed the dragon that is Trump. But to know that he will be a trivia question in years going forward in pub trivia, name the most recent president to give up, will be one of those things they're going to talk about in the room today. So if you don't see an immediate piece of news coming out today, that will be the chief and principal reason why. So let's imagine that he decides, I'm going to step out of the way. How do we feel about President Kamala Harris? Yeah, funny you mention that, because an opinion poll of the vice president, now remember, president goes, vice president steps up. When it was Nixon, I am not a crook, jumping into the helicopter, of course, it was Ford, his vice president, who became the president. When, of course, Kennedy was assassinated, it was LBJ who becomes the president. This is the entire point of the vice president is to be the in case they die person. But that person elicits that reaction in this room, and it is no different with the American voter. In fact, you know I love to show you and bore you with the data, so let's bore you with some data, people. Kamala Harris, according to the latest polls taken this year, if you have a look at the screen here in Brisbane, or obviously you're already watching the screen because you're watching telly at home, but still, you'll see there, if it's not Joe Biden, who should it be? Kamala Harris, less than a quarter of all voters, okay, not just Democratic voters, all voters. Now, we keep being told that, of course, 70% of people don't want either of these chances. Well, if the one next in line is at a quarter of the vote, you can start to see how it completely melts away. So you're not the only one who doesn't know who Gavin Newsom is. Now, people watching Sky News, people here in the room will know who Gavin probably is, but of course he's the governor of California. Now, this bloke is the used car salesman of all used car salesmen. Like, look at the hair, look at the shirt, look at the I've done nothing wrong. Hello, ladies. And hello, fellas, because it's 2024, right? Like, he's a rock and roll kind of guy. Only problem is he, of course, represents a state where it feels like there's more homeless people than people with homes in California. Good luck taking that around the world. Then there's a lady called Gretchen Whitmer. Now, Gretchen Whitmer is a governor. She's the governor of one of the states that is a swing state. It's the Michigan governor. The problem is she's the one who, during COVID, literally told people what aisles of the shopping centre you could go down. She banned the purchase of seeds. For some reason, that was going to stop the Wu flu. But who knew? That was how we were going to get on top of it. So she, of course, is somebody who, swing state, progressive woman, all the rest of it. But I now want to show you another bit of polling which came out this year about Joe Biden, Gretchen Whitmer, Gavin Newsom and Harris. Can we drop the strap, because I want to explain to everyone there that Joe Biden on the left-hand side is losing to Donald Trump. Kamala Harris loses to Donald Trump. Gavin Newsom gets smashed by Donald Trump. And Gretchen Whitmer also would get smashed by Donald Trump. But before we feel too smug, before we all feel like a bunch of Hillarys in 2016, that this thing is already in the bag and is done, one more piece of data, which is this. When you have a look at the popularity of both Trump and Biden going into the debate and coming out of the debate, they were hated by basically the same amount of people 1 hour after one collapsed and one trumped for an hour. So you have a scenario here where the Democrats think if it's a new face, all of that polling that says anyone but Trump or Biden would automatically reset the race, and they would be able to potentially put the ball over the line, and it would become a potentially easy victory. So You have people like Nikki Haley. Now, remember, about 20% of Republicans have turned around and they actually voted for Nikki Haley, even when she wasn't running anymore against Donald Trump. Would those people go across to the new face and Trump would end up in a scenario where he's got 45 and the other person's got 46, 47? We're not as smug as we were about 5 minutes ago, are we? We're starting to see what potentially could be happening. Now, also, still to come in this presidential election, Donald Trump is being sentenced on the 11th of July. He could be sent to jail. Not kind of jail, not maybe jail, actual jail, and have to go on that day. Now, it'd be good for message discipline if he went quiet for about 30 days, perhaps. You can't make any mistakes when nobody's talking to you. But if he goes into house arrest, does that feel weird? Does that change the race? So the whole point of saying everything that I've just said is that we all feel exactly the same about the debate that we watched on Friday. We saw the presidential run of Joe Biden turn to dust. Joe Biden may arrogantly find a way to just keep on going, and he'll probably lose. But let's be careful what we wish for if that actually happens, that the replacement, if it's not Kamala Harris, could reset the race and then Donald Trump becomes the problem, not Joe Biden.